When you do the sort of thing that I do, you oftentimes feel like the piano man in that one song. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like 9 o'clock on a Saturday and the regular crowd, they come in and there's an old man sitting next to the piano man and he's like totally stooping his gin and tonic. I don't remember the name of the song, but there's a piano man. Now you're thinking, what the hell is the relevance of old songs that nobody remembers the name to that have piano men in them have to do with anything that you do? And to answer that question, I must first welcome you to Daily Dose of Reddit as your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is, and here's your answer, r/Tom PettyRevenge. And you're thinking, wait a second, Zach, Tom Petty didn't make that one song about the guy with the piano. And you're right, no he didn't, that was Billy Joel, but they're around the same age, so I figured I can get away with it, and I did. Booyah! Time to sing you a song, I'm your Reddit man. And it's called Ruining a Wedding Reception for Fun and Profit. When I was 13, so 8 years ago, my dad remarried after divorcing my mom 4 years before. Before the divorce, his fiancée had been his mistress. Whoa. My mom is completely better off without him, and ignoring the fact that I wouldn't exist, I don't think she should have married him in the first place. Even if I think my parents weren't a good match, that's no excuse to cheat on your wife. This woman was freaking vile in all sorts of ways. She constantly belittled me, made fun of the fact that I needed to take pills for my mental illness despite being a freaking pharmacist? I don't get it either, and was generally awful to me and my siblings. But she was a decade younger than my dad and reasonably hot, so he didn't give a crap how she treated us. The one time he actually listened to us about her is when they were thinking of having a baby, and my brother said he'd ask our mom to sue for full custody if they did. So anyway, they got married. I was a bridesmaid, cause that bimbo had no real friends. The other two bridesmaids were her sister and my sister. My brother was the best man, cause she didn't like my dad's best friend. He and my dad still don't talk to this day, even though the guy was like an uncle to me as a little kid. It was a wedding, everything went normally. But at the beginning of the reception, before the first dance, we were taking pictures in front of a chocolate fountain, looking like the happy family we never were and would never be. I'm on the autism spectrum and have a problem maintaining eye contact. This extends to looking at a camera. So when we had to retake a photo because I wasn't looking, she leans down and whispers something in my ear. I'm not going to repeat it, but it involved the R word. I don't like saying it. Anyway, I kinda snapped and decided she was going to pay for this. No one noticed, or at least no one called me out, when I started slowly moving the chocolate fountain towards the edge of the table. When it got to the edge, it makes contact with the back of that pure white wedding dress and slowly drips down. By the time she notices, it looks like she's crapped herself. But for all anyone else knows, this was an accident. She has no spare dress and that stain is not coming out. So first dance, cutting the cake, speeches, everything. This woman has what looks like a crap stain on the back of her dress. It was a small revenge, but it was so worth it. What's supposed to be the happiest day of this stupid woman's life, and she's gonna remember that stain every time she thinks about it. They never did get that stain out, and nobody knew it was me. Until now, I guess. Hi family, if you're reading this, Susie, you're a cooter and you deserve that chocolate stain. Power. This is what raw, unfiltered, unbridled power looks like. A dookie-looking chocolate stain on the back of a horrible woman's dress. Wedding dress, that is. Badassery personified. This story's called Sniffing Things. Years ago, when I got married, my dad gave me my grandmother's wedding ring to give to my wife. At the reception, the ladies were admiring my wife's ring when my aunt, who's known to be a Class C, my dad's sister, saw my wife's wedding ring and became visibly upset. She grabbed her things quietly and left the reception. Of course, we all noticed. When I asked my dad about it later on, he told me the following story. Your aunt was a spoiled brat. She treated my parents horribly. She ostracized herself from the family because she wanted nothing to do with us. She felt that my parents owed her everything and anything that people could give to her in regards to money and support. My parents were great people.
Her problem was that years ago, my mother refused to buy her a new car, even though my sister could afford it. My parents offered to buy her a used refurbished car, but my sister's argument was that there's nothing like the real thing. There was a big family argument where she cursed them out, and she abandoned the family for around 10 years. Years later, as my mother started to become ill, my sister wouldn't visit her once. Towards the end, where we knew she had little chance of living or going on, my sister suddenly showed up. One night, while going to the bathroom, I heard a noise in my mom's bedroom, and there was my sister trying on my mom's rings. One of them was my mom's wedding band that she had always wanted. When I asked my mom later about it, she said that my sister had always wanted that ring, but my mother didn't want her to have it because she knew that deep down, she was still a spoiled, nasty person, and she felt that a ring that was given to her out of love should go to someone else out of love, and the only person she could think of was a grandson. She wanted that ring to go to her grandson's new wife when he got married down the road.
My dad then proceeded to tell me that he borrowed the wedding ring and took it to a jeweler friend of his. They were buddies since high school, and he asked his friend if he could make an exact duplicate of that ring, but with cubic zirconia and fake stones that go with it. When my mother passed away, my dad went to her room and exchanged the ring for the real one. He said,
I knew the bimbo would come sniffing.
Sure enough, the same day that my grandmother died, my aunt made some excuse to come over to her house, saying that she left something there. My dad swung by later when he looked in the jewelry box. The ring was missing. Fine. On the day of the wedding, after my aunt saw my wife's new ring as she was walking back to her table, my dad whispered to her,
Hope you enjoyed your fake ring. There's nothing like the real thing, huh?
Oh, that's a good story. They snuck the revenge in. I didn't expect that. That's a cute story. And, you should really make sure your wife wears that, verbs that ring with honor, because that's an amazing story. This story's called, A Company Gave Out 10,000 Flyers That Had My Phone Number on Them. This happened quite a long time ago when I had my first office job. I did fairly well and after a while was promoted and got my own room. With it came my own phone line. The day after it was installed, I arrived at work to find the message light blinking. I checked and the mailbox was full with 20 messages. Odd, I thought. There must be some mistake. There sure was. Messages after message from people wanting to book a chalet. While I was still checking the messages, calls started coming in. Hello? Yes, I want to book a chalet. Do you have one available for this weekend? You have the wrong phone number. But this is XXX, right? No, this is an office in town. Customer pauses again. But the number is XXX. Yes, that is my number, but this is an office. We don't have anything to do with chalets. But I want to book a chalet. We don't do chalets. You have the wrong number. But your number is XXXXXXX, right? Yes, it's my number, but this is an office, not XXX. We don't do chalets. So the conversations went, and the moment I hung up, another call came in, and another. I had the phone off the hook all day. The next day, I decided to put the phone back. It rang immediately. Hello?
Yeah, hello. I want to book a chalet.
You have the wrong number.
Is this XXXXXXX?
Yes, that is my number, but this is not XXX.
But the flyer has this number. XXXXXX.
Flyer? What flyer?
This flyer for a special offer on all chalets between these dates.
So I ended the call and looked for the main line of XXX Company. I called them and told them I couldn't do any work because of all the calls that were coming in, because they printed my number on their flyers. So, you printed my number on your flyers? My phone is ringing non-stop. I can't get any work done.
That is not possible.
Do you have a flyer or the artwork?
Yes, I'll just have a look and...
Yes? Is that my number on your flyer?
Yes, it must be a mistake.
I'm sure it is. A big one. What are you gonna do?
The flyers have been given out. There's nothing we can do.
How many flyers were printed?
10,000.
They couldn't do anything. They didn't want to do anything. I asked them to pay for changing the line, and they refused. They didn't offer anything and even asked me to direct all the callers to them at the correct number. So I started answering all of the calls. It took a week, but I told everyone we were fully booked till the end of the promotion. That is ridiculous. And some good revenge. I really like PettyRevenge because the revenge isn't over the top. It's just, you sure showed them. Alright, I just died in the gulag, and this story is called How I Made Bratty Thumbelina Stop Flirting with My Boyfriend. Back in high school, I dated a guy who we'll call Jared. After school, Jared and I would hang out at his place or with a group of 3 to 5 friends. One girl in our group of friends was, interesting. We'll call her Trixie. Trixie was a petite girl whose entire personality revolved around being cute and petite. Also, despite being in a relationship herself, she was clearly into Jared. She would claim that things were too heavy and ask only him to carry them, comment on how tall he was compared to her, ask him for piggyback rides, just general nonsense that made both of us sort of uncomfortable. I would not tolerate this now, but we did at the time because we like hanging out with her boyfriend. Well, it being that time of the month, I bought a new box of tampons to keep under the sink. It was one of those variety packages that includes different sizes, important for later. Later that afternoon, I went to grab one and noticed that 6 or 7 of the light tampons were already missing. What the hell? Then I realized that Trixie had been going to the bathroom a lot. Being so aggressively petite and adorable, I guess she considered it beneath her to use regular tampons. When we hung out the next day, she finished all of the light ones. I was wondering what she'd do when she approached me off to the side and asked if I had any more. I quietly told her no, sorry, but told her she could always use a bigger size so she wouldn't have to change them so often. She answered very loudly, looking right at Jared,
"Oh, I can't use those jumbo tampons like you. I'm way too tiny."
What the hell? I guess she thought it would sound sexy or something. So what did I do? I hid the entire box of tampons in his room and replaced it with a box of diaper-thick maxi pads that I only wear to bed. The next time she went to the bathroom, she was in there a long time, probably searching for the tampons I'd moved. When she finally came out wearing one of the diaper-sized pads, she crinkled like a newspaper wherever she walked. Jared, knowing full well, asked the room at large, "What's that sound?" She left shortly afterward. She also cold-shouldered me from then on, which was just an added bonus as far as I was concerned. As a cherry on top of the cake, I heard through the grapevine that she's gained at least 50 pounds since high school. Bet you don't ask other people's boyfriends for piggyback rides anymore, huh, Trixie? Edit 1 for clarification. This was at Jared's house. Edit 2, this is amazing. I've officially united 4,000 people over Dracula's teabags. Ah, wow, that is some good revenge. She, I guess, couldn't take a dose of her own medicine. That is, a daily dose of Reddit. I don't know how that worked, but it did. It did. Don't say it didn't. Please don't. My pride. Alright, this story's called Pandemic Petty. So I wasn't the victim of this Karen, but I was the enactor of the PettyRevenge. In the midst of this pandemic, a lot of businesses are limiting the number of people that can be in a store at one time. I was going to the grocery store across the street when I see the massive line. Now, there were only like 50 people in line, but by following the 6'2" rule, this line was physically pretty long. I needed some stuff and the weather was nice, so I just decided to wait and take this opportunity to relax. Now, this Karen in front of me is on the phone with someone complaining about how long the line is and how big of a hurry she's in. This woman has the full mask, gloves, goggles, hairnet. Don't know what that was for. Okay, hold up, someone's uneducated here. If anyone else has seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you know what I'm talking about. The disease is all in your hair. Sorry, back to the story. And a custom shirt that says, "Stop! Stay at least 6 feet away from me!" in that voice. Anytime someone passing along the sidewalk came close, she'd dodge them to stay away. About 10 minutes pass and now there's only 30 people in line in front of us when this woman, early to mid-20s, who is 4 places ahead of Karen, sneezes into her sleeve. Now, I want to take this opportunity to say that sneezing is not a symptom of COVID-19 and not indicative of one's status. It's April and springtime, and someone who has suffered my whole life with allergies, I can tell the difference between an "I'm sick" sneeze and a
"Pollen tickled my nose."
sneeze. This was an allergy sneeze, but Karen felt like she had just discovered a bioterrorism plot. She begins yelling at the poor girl. Keep in mind, this girl and Karen are like 30 feet away, 9 meters. So Karen is literally yelling. Karen is mainly giving a soapbox lecture on how this girl is endangering the community and Karen's kids for not following self-quarantine orders when she obviously has the virus. She of course calls the employee monitoring the door over who sent out the manager. We all know Karen would have called for the manager eventually, am I right? The manager tries to figure the situation out while Karen threatens to call the cops to arrest the girl. Eventually, the girl just gives up and leaves. She'll just come back or go to a different store. This satiates Karen, and I'm more than convinced she was just looking for excuses to kick people out of line and speed up her entry. As someone who works in diseases, I have seen how flat out stupid people have been in regards to this disease, and that Karen's actions of nearly starting a panic just shouldn't go unpunished. The temperature was 88 degrees Fahrenheit, or 32 degrees Celsius-ish, which isn't really hot, but since it was the first hot day to break past 65 degrees, I could tell it definitely felt warmer. People were definitely sweating, and considering how long people were waiting outside in the sun, people were getting a good dosage of heat. I waited until Karen was the next person in the store when I noticed she was definitely fanning herself. Right before the door clerk said it was okay, I asked her, "Ma'am, are you feeling okay? You look a little warm, kinda feverish." She snapped back,
"I'm fine. It's the sun. Mind your business."
The door guard caught on to what I was hinting at and agreed.
"Miss, we'll have to take your temperature."
And he radioed the monitors. The store has a thermal gun to check the temperature of anyone suspicious. I've never seen them use it, but I knew they had it.
She cried, "Why? It's just because I've been in the sun. You didn't check anyone else's temperature."
He said,
"It's just a policy to check anyone who looks feverish."
The guy comes and takes her temperature, 100.7 degrees Fahrenheit, or 38 degrees Celsius. Just over the 100.4 degree Fahrenheit limit, the store said. The temperature guy informs her that she will not be allowed to enter the store for public safety. She begins to throw a conniption fit, saying,
"It's the sun. I'm not sick. Test him."
They do. I get a 99.9 degree Fahrenheit result. The guy informs me that I can now enter the store. I thank him and go in to grab my milk while I can hear Karen still yelling. I hope she was able to get her essential Pinot Grigio somewhere, just not here. Side note, most grocery stores have an early window to allow elderly shoppers, 60 plus, to come with lower risk of infection. Almost suggested that if she wanted to avoid contamination, she should do that. She was no older than 45, but I knew that would piss her off. That's the kind of thinking we need in our ranks. You have joined my anti-Karen task force. Oh, wait, no, that was when I was with Voicey. Oh no, who am I? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.